I willing to choose not shame right now? Am I willing to choose to not feel shame right now? Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Orphic. We are talking all things beyond ordinary understanding on this podcast. My name is Alyssa. I am an astrophysicist. I just got my PhD, and I am interested in understanding how the universe works. So a lot of what I do and what I care about is kind of combining my knowledge of astrophysics with spirituality and understanding, you know, the energetics and the consciousness of the universe from this new holistic perspective. So that's what I try to bring to this podcast and throw it to you.
Yeah. And hey, I'm Mikayla with Mariposa Moonchild on Instagram. I am an empathic medium and intuitive energy healer. I'm here to guide and support others along their healing journeys, so that we can continue healing in the quantum realm, the quantum field, healing all the timelines that exist simultaneously to bring us to this one point. And as we heal, we inspire others to heal themselves as well. And when you heal, you're able to connect to your inner wisdom. So, and when you connect to your inner wisdom, you're able to clearly walk the path that is meant for you.
That's good. Yeah. So speaking of healing, this episode is all about quantum healing. And we kind of go through some steps or some suggestions on how to view these different aspects of yourself. I share kind of a personal story of something that I have healed through, and we actually do want to expand on this topic more. We've realized since recording it, both me and Mikayla have gotten so many new ideas, and it's actually really cool because a whole idea of this podcast is merging the science with the spirit and the spirituality of it. And so a lot of the times my ideas maybe get a little more sciencey or quantum physicsy, and then Mikayla's nicely complement that. So we have been really expanding on this whole aspect of quantum healing in the last few days, and we really want to elaborate on it more.
Yeah, I think in this episode to come, a lot of it just explains our process of our own healing and some of our own realizations.
Definitely.
Is what's coming through. But then since that episode, because we recorded that a few weeks ago, I've had downloads come through about Alyssa and I making a chart together. And then each day more and more has been coming through. So it's going to be some type of system or chart that for quantum healing that breaks down quantum healing into different categories, as well as actual equations for things like emotions and the math and the science behind it. It's going to be a fill in the blank kind of thing as we go, because we're just going to get downloads and build this. And I feel like this is going to be a thing over a few years that we're probably going to build, but this is the beginning of it anyways. And yeah, I don't know. It's really cool, really interesting, especially because in this episode, we talk so much about quantum healing. And then, I'm very lucky to have Alyssa, who knows the math and science behind things. And I guess we're bridging that gap.
Yeah, I'm really excited to kind of expand on this. And just before we recorded this, we kind of had this brainstorming session between me and Mikayla where we're comparing our downloads and we're like filling in the blanks to each other. And I feel like it was actually this very cool glimpse at what the work behind this podcast is going to be and what our collaboration and what our specific collaboration in this podcast will be. And I feel like it was kind of a cool glimpse into that. And it made me pretty excited for all the cool insights that we're going to bring soon. So
yeah, I agree. It's super cool. So stay tuned for that as it continues to grow. And yeah, I hope that you guys enjoy this episode. Please, if you really like it, please take a screenshot of it and share it to your Instagram or your social media and tag us in it. We'll love you forever.
Definitely. Please tag us. Please make sure to follow us on Instagram. Give us a rating, subscribe, and review. Can never remind too many times. Always good to put some reminder of that up front.
Yeah, definitely. Helps us out big time. Helps us out to grow. So
yes. All right. So hope you enjoy this episode. Thank you.
Enjoy. Well, I wanted to ask you first, what's a good definition of quantum?
Yeah, I was actually gonna start with that regardless, and kind of just talk about it in terms of, what's
telepathy.
There we go. In terms of what's been on my mind and the way that I've been thinking about it. Like, yeah, I've been thinking a lot lately about this aspect, kind of this quantum healing, but in the sense of we are, like, us in this current incarnation, as we are right now, we're living one expression of ourselves, but there's obviously multiple versions of ourselves, from not just from past and future incarnations, but also from this incarnation. There's other fractal expressions of ourselves from this incarnation. And a lot of the source of what you could call trauma, or just maybe not feeling whole, comes from different aspects of yourself fragmenting off, and just this whole concept of we are this conglomeration of different fragments of ourselves, and sometimes a piece of us fragments off, and we are connected in a quantum way to all of these aspects of ourself, because we are living a certain expression of ourselves right now at every single moment, because those other fractals of us are still us, we have access to them and we're connected to them. And so I would say, like, quantum, the definition of the word quantum is simultaneous, is at once, is everything together. So even though right now we're living a certain expression of ourselves, those previous and future expression of ourselves are still available to us, because quantum changes everything from something from, it's going from linear to stacked, where things are overlapping as opposed to are preceding one another. And like the way that I see it is like I see like little lines kind of protruding out of every version of ourselves, and we're all like linked. They're all linked back to one another. And kind of there's a lot of ways to talk about this, but one thing that I thought we could touch on is this aspect of quantum healing, in the sense that you're retrieving some aspect of yourself that maybe you need to bring back, that maybe might be helpful to you right now. That's kind of another way to put all this stuff. Like, those different aspects of you hold different things, and they have different abilities or different strengths and weaknesses, right? And so that's why, since they are available to us, we can call on to reunite ourselves with those soul fragments. Is there anything you wanted to add into that? Because I was like, is there anything you have to say into that right now?
But I can feel into it. So part of the quantum healing is calling like the soul fragments back to yourself. That's what I'm hearing. That's what you're saying. Mm-hmm.
And in a way too, where it's like it's a unification to, it's a unification. Oh yeah, it just came to mind. It's a unification with the intention of being fully present. Like, one other thing that you can do, like, to get all your energy, is one other thing I do. I call all of my energy into my body right now. I call all of my energy back into my body right now. And it's a way to get present. That's kind of an underlying thing with this, getting present in the moment and realizing that this moment is all aspects of you that you've ever been and ever will be, called like converged into one. And it doesn't mean that you have to be expressing.
What I'm getting is when an event or a trauma or something like that happens in your life, it's almost like a piece of energy like breaks off or something.
Yes.
And it like stays stored in that time, and that's where like the stagnancy comes in, or a stuck or blocked emotion. So because this is like quantum and through different timelines and dimensions, so the energy can be stuck. And this is where you hear a lot of people that are like, oh, they're stuck in the past, right? They can't get over that trauma. They're stuck in the past, or they're stuck in high school, or like whatever. It's like the piece of energy attaches to that time and space, and it stays there. So like those are like the fractals that you're talking about. And not only does this happen like within the quantum field and like within the timeline, whatever that is, it also happens in your body. So wherever that energy was also like it also gets attached in your body, and that's where we get like soreness or illness or like emotions trapped in our body or stuck in our different chakra systems, and they can be attached to the time and place, and then also somewhere on a grid system like within your body, like according to the grid system in like the quantum field.
Yeah, right. Because like our body is a quantum computer in a way. Like there's a reason that our body can store injuries from a past life, because it's connected. There's still a connection, even though our bodies are temporary. We're bringing in these other things. But yeah, that's exactly how I see it too. It's like this fragmented piece, and yes, sometimes it can be located to the body, or sometimes to like a part of the body. But yeah, it kind of stays stuck, right? It gets like left behind, so to speak.
Yeah, and that can happen with many different things in life. And I'll just use like money as an example, because we were talking about that before. If there is like the money trauma or something, and now it feels like there's a block, or there's something stuck, or there's those emotions that are pressed deep down that we're avoiding. That's just an example. But and then it gets stuck, and so then when that happens, it hinders your ability, because the emotion is stuck and stagnant in your body, which can actually create physical effects. It depends how it like manifests in that particular individual. But it's not allowing you to expand in that area. So when people say they're blocked, this is like energetically part of what they're talking about. I'm also like kind of like I think you and I are jumping off of each other of channeling this in kind of real time. So I'm just kind of speaking to what's like coming through. Again, I don't actually know the answers on everything. So people that are listening, like take what resonates, leave what doesn't. But this is just coming through for me at that time. So then if there is a trapped emotion, the stagnancy, it's not flowing. So it's not expanding. It's not able to expand. So you're not able to expand in that area. And that is where you see the manifestation in real life via, and you can use the money thing via that be, you're always like in feast and famine. You're not able to make money, or you're not able to keep money. You can't spend money well, versus somebody who does and is able to. That's just like one example, but there's a lot of other examples. It could be trust within friendships, or right. So if you don't heal, and this is back to the quantum healing, if you don't heal that, if you don't release the trapped emotion, it's going to stay there stuck in its stagnancy, and your manifestations, or what's going to come to fruition in your life, is going to keep being a direct reflection of that stuck emotion in that particular area of your life.
Right, exactly. And it's kind of the way that I see it too is almost like you're up here living in your current vibration of life, and like I'm keep on being attached to whether I liked like what you had said and channeled about how that aspect of you is stuck. So there's an aspect of you that's stuck that needs to be retrieved. And so if that aspect of you is kind of down here, stuck living out that same thing, because that truly is, and this is actually what I also want to talk about too, like that's not just a memory. That's not just a passing thing that happened. There's an actual version of you in the quantum field that lived that thing, that exists, and you can connect to it in real time. But so yeah, it's like you're up here and this other piece of you is kind of stuck down here. But because we're quantumly linked to everything, when you heal that piece of you and bring it up here, it shifts your entire, it's like there's a connection point between you and this other aspect. So everywhere you go, you move, the other thing moves a little bit. So if you move up the other thing, that it's going to directly affect you right now. Just this idea of your past being a ripple effect. And because we're all connected at a quantum level, when you address that aspect of your past without even necessarily doing anything, like doing anything in the present, it instantly sends a ripple effect to your now.
Yeah. I also feel that with if you have a bunch of different fractals from different things, there is this connection too. If you don't release the emotion, go into the emotion, or just face your trauma, and it feels like it's like you're connected to it. So it is if we're looking on like a timeline as far as past and present, and I know it's all like quantum, but if you're in this lifetime, it's like those things, the connection to it also is actually pulling you down. Like there's like a weight. Exactly. So that's like,
it is pulling you down. And this is other things that get really interesting. Your mind doesn't actually know the difference between something that happened and a memory, or like something that you view in your mind's eye. Have you heard this before?
Or like a memory or a dream even.
Right, a memory or a dream, and so because of this, you can rewrite the memory in your mind. This is kind of a thing. This is talked about a lot. I've heard this talked about before. This whole thing with like your mind can't tell the difference between something that actually happened or something that you visualize, anything, because since it's a air quote memory, all that it exists, the only thing that it exists as is a movie in your mind, right? Like something that you play in your mind
is a memory. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when we have these events, like truly the way to transmute everything or anything that happened that is traumatic for us, odds are in that time you didn't receive the love that you needed. It's usually always love needs to be brought to something to bring it to resolution. Whatever happened, it's like you need to that version of yourself needs to receive love that it did not receive in that moment.
My mentor sent me a really good quote on that. He always just sends me like zingers. I feel like I talk to him and I get like jiu-jitsu flipped, but I'm going to look at what he said. Oh, wow. Listen to this. We store energies in different centers. Pain of the mind is simply thoughts incongruent with the truth. All truth is love. Love manifested in each center has a different expression. All healing is wanting to become whole again, bringing the fractals back.
Yes, I like that. All truth is love. That's exactly what it is. It's if something, and this is, it's the opposite of shame. Like if you have something that you feel shame about, everything needs to transmute anything requires acceptance, requires love. Like if you have shame about something, like how do you heal anything in the first place is seeing it, acknowledging it, like bringing acceptance to it to neutralize the polarity.
Here's another quote,
bringing love to it.
Go with that one. Life will always give us what we judge until we love what is.
Ooh, yeah. Exactly. It's the antithesis of judgment, and shame is bringing it into love. And that's the reason that we have a lot of, anytime that some aspect of us fragments off and gets stuck, it's because there was an absence of love to bring that situation to resolution. And with the quantum healing, the purpose of bringing fragmented aspects back to yourself in the present is so that you can live the highest expression of yourself. Because if you visualize yourself as this ball of light, if some aspect of you fragmented off from something that you experienced when you're 15 years old, then first off, that's okay. We have to remember that there's no judgment to any part of the situation, because also that's part of the process, that's part of the lesson, that's part of the earth lesson, and this incarnation is learning how to bring these aspects back. But what it is when you're bringing this aspect back, that's allowing you to live in your fullest expression right now. It's allowing it's allowing your energy to be focused fully in the present, as opposed to being split. It's because when your energy is split off, then it's not fully focused on what's happening right now, obviously. And so it's just this idea of uniting these aspects of yourself so that you can live in your highest current expression. And one way that you can, so just like I was saying, it's about bringing love to these aspects of yourself. And so a lot of times you can maybe pinpoint, you might be able to pinpoint exactly what fragments of yourself probably need healing. And so I did this. And so what one way that this could look in a practical manner in terms of healing these things is identifying this fragmented aspect of you. So either like a really traumatic event, or when something really came to a head, and that there's like this version of you, and what you do is like you really like visualize it. You make it very real. It's better to kind of start simple. There's probably multiple things, but if you want to just work on one thing at a time, bring this version of you, get very clear, know exactly what it looks like make it very real, this version of you, you're literally talking to this aspect of yourself. And so I'm going to give a very vulnerable example from me in university. My freshman year, I had some eating disorder issues. And because, a lot of people have this, but I happened to go to, where I went to school was abnormally, beautiful and skinny. It was not a normal sampling of the population, just the school that I went to. It was, known for that. It was, everyone was beautiful, and, but it was also just, I don't know if it was, I don't even know how, I don't even know how, maybe private schools or more like that. I don't know. But not only that, but it was not an accurate sampling of the society, body wise.
Was it a private school? Did you go to private school?
Yeah, it was a private university.
Oh yeah. Well, when I hear private school,
not high school or anything.
Oh, not high school.
Still, no, yeah, I'm talking about college.
Blair Waldorf.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So that had some to do with it probably. But so it was not, I was not around in a normal sample size of bodies, and it really amplified stuff, it amplified that aspect. That's a very normal and common insecurity. And so I remember I remember kind of just assuming that I had to get to that point, obviously, especially the focus of this is my freshman year of college. The focus at that point is attracting guys. The whole focus, you know, it was like I existed to attract guys. Like I existed to hook up with guys. That was like, that was
it's a big one. Like how many?
That was the purpose that all of this happened with this.
Feminines can resonate with that. Like you feel like you just exist to be hot and to attract something else, and that's a big one, because that goes all the way down to worth, right? My worth is based off of attracting this type of person and what they think of me. And like that's a big one that I think a lot of us can relate to.
And and it was like, it was basically kind of like multiple like attempted like bulimia situations was what it was. And so I just remember kind of, it was more like the attempts, but I just remember the, you know, the mentality, and especially like at that point too, was just so new in like my womanhood. And, you know, I was 18 or 17. I was 18 at the time. And that's definitely like probably a really ripe age for like, you know, issues like that. Right. And,
huge.
So I just remember like things kind of getting to a point where I was just, you know, you have that really low point where you're like, you remember a night that it just got really low. And so I called in that specific aspect of myself that was like, that it was like, I was like trying to, I don't know. I kind of had just, I guess I had just hit this point where I was like, what am I doing? One of those, like at the time when I was 18, where I was like, what am I doing? But it was just like feeling all the emotions behind it, and like why I felt that way, and, you know, and just feeling that need to conform and everything. And so so this was in 2021. I think, I did this kind of powerful thing. In 2021, I think I had started learning about this quantum healing thing. I watched a few videos where kind of I heard information similar to everything that I was just talking about, like about healing aspects of yourself. And so I, of course, still kind of had, you know, just the normal levels. Like I've always had issues with those kinds of things, and wanting to reframe, I guess, kind of reprogramming this diet culture, right? This is a huge thing right now, that a huge thing for me that's in my reality, that is actually it's actually really cool. I'm very proud of our generation. Our generation is doing a lot to fight this, and, you know, not just people on the spiritual path. This is a generational thing. People in our generation are seeing that the generation above us had this diet culture, had this thing where we exist to lose weight.
Fuck.
And it's fucking intense. And there's actually a lot of people in our generation that are fighting against it, and it's very hard, because then you butt heads with the generation above that doesn't know anything else but to talk about things in that way. And it's really hard. And so it's like, I have friends that, you know, are also doing the same thing, but I just want to say, like, I'm proud of our generation, because I feel like a lot of people are on this bandwagon that they're like, no, you know, the intuitive eating things, and just, I feel like for me, like the best way that I can, verbalize it is this realization that I don't exist to lose weight. And
well, it's important because it's like, it's a worth thing, and it's a worth thing around changing what healthy means to us. And I think a lot of us in our generation, what I'm finding, are like intuitive eating is a huge one, and intuitive exercise and all that, and feeling into what is actually healthy, like eating whole foods and exercising and stuff. But before that, the generation, losing weight and healthy were almost like interchangeable, right? When it's not like that at all, right. But it would be like counting calories and like just all of these things losing weight were labeled healthy, or eating the Weight Watchers bread or drinking this garbage with like aspartame in it, or like, just as example. So I've seen a shift in that too, of us like actually learning like what is healthy, what actually is healthy, and what is also healthy to my body, because it's not a one size fits all thing.
Right, exactly. Like I think it's more about just like eating like real things. And I mean, that's another topic. But actually I remember I did this healing in 2020, because that's when I remember it was like the summer-ish of 2020. I did this kind of intense like meditation around this, because I remember in 2021, I remember at the end of 2021, I was really proud of the fact that, and I'm going to talk about what I did in the healing, but I just remember I was so proud of the fact that in all of 2021, I did not do that thing where it's like, oh, there's an event coming up, or there's a vacation coming up or something, and then you put a timestamp and you're like, oh, I have a month, I have 2 months, I have this. I didn't do that at all in 2021. And I remember at the end of 2021 being like so proud of just that I didn't have that mentality of needing to get ready, needing to prepare for something, that I was able to just exist in some consistent flow throughout the year. And I was like, that's the first year that I've ever done that. Every single year before, there's been something. Oh God, this, you put a date to it. There's a time limit to this. And so what I did, I brought in, so when I did this meditation kind of thing, I brought in that version of myself. And I actually really remember, like, I was kind of like hugging myself a lot. I was doing like a lot of self-soothing things. I think I had seen this somewhere, like, or I think I was getting into at that time I was also trying to get into different kind of self-love practices, and like one thing is just like hugging yourself and giving yourself like experimenting with different ways to like give yourself love. And so what I wanted to do is bring love back to that situation, because that version of myself felt like she was in this corner and into such this place that like that was what I had to do, and the only reason that I would have thought that at this time, this 18-year-old version of myself, is because there was some aspect of love missing from the equation in there, right?
It's inner child work too.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
Well, it is inner child work.
Yeah, and like for me, this goes back, like everyone has their own thing. Like for me, these kinds of issues have been persistent since I'm little. So this is something that is in my system. It's in my body. When that happens, it's also in my karma probably too. Yeah. It's in my karma. It's in my body. It's in my soul blueprint. It's in my Akashic records. So it's like this is something that something that is always like I planned to face again in this lifetime. So I kind of just like sat with that version of myself and like gave it love. And I guess I don't know, like I guess there's not much more to say other than that. And it was a lot of crying, like maybe a lot of journaling, like definitely a lot of crying and a lot of release, which is just
releasing. And sometimes there is that, it's almost like you don't get it until you get it, but sometimes there's that switch in their brain where you have this like profound moment of, oh shit, this is why I'm doing this, and I don't want to do this anymore. Like sometimes, like before it was subconscious, like you had to look this way and you didn't really realize and everyone else was doing it, or you felt this pressure, but it wasn't so conscious. And then you're just like, oh, like I'm trying to that's not a right word. Bend how I look for someone else, for someone else's approval, for other people. And this isn't really what I want. This isn't healthy for me. And I want to put myself first. I'm more important than what I look like or how I'm perceived by these other people, or however they want to put their worth onto me. And having that moment, and it's hard to come to that because sometimes you're in a place where you're so low where you don't have that self-love, but sometimes it's just a minute, like that click of just choosing to give yourself love instead of the expectation of someone else being the priority.
Yeah, and I think that I also there was a kind of maturity to it that there was this thought that was like, at that point I was quite a few months into my awakening, and I had such a different mindset and such a different existence. Obviously I was about like 28 or something, so it was about exactly 10 years after the fact. So it was kind of also doing it from the perspective of like, I'm actually at a level now where I have a different perspective, or I can see myself moving to a different perspective, and like acknowledging the separation, acknowledging like how different I am from that other version of me. And that was kind of like a focus of what I was doing. I was like, okay, no, I'm ready to switch my mindset around this. And I kind of had chose that moment because that's obviously just something that kind of lives with you for a long time, or just stays in your mind as one of the lowest points in this whole lifelong journey for many people is this whole body image weight kind of issue,
and thank you for sharing that. I know a lot of people can resonate with that. I mean, I know I'm in like a conventionally thin body, however I've definitely had my struggles with that as well. Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't discriminate, and it's probably annoying, like I could imagine, for other people that are also in conventionally thin bodies that maybe have similarly terrible struggles. It's probably annoying for people to think that they don't have a struggle with that. This kind of this energy doesn't discriminate. Like, it could be coming from a past life, it could be coming, it doesn't even matter like what your body looks like in this incarnation. But
and I really resonate with getting ready for an event thing, and I think so many people do. Like and there's a lot of like boomers. That's probably more your parents' age. I don't even know what my parents' age would be underneath that. And they're still very much in that. They're like, oh, there's a wedding coming up. Like we got to lose weight, and we got to do this, and we got to do this. Not to say that you can't do some of those things to be healthy, but it's like judging, am I doing this because of others' expectations of how I'm going to be perceived, or am I doing this out of a place of love? Because you can still choose to maybe lose weight out of a place of love, but it's different because it's like you're showing up to give your body the health it needs. You're not restricting calories. You're not basing yourself either on, like, maybe I shouldn't have said lose weight specifically, but I mean, just get into a healthier lifestyle, and you're choosing healthier choices without looking at the numbers on the measuring tape or the scale or...
The way I look at it now is losing weight is a natural byproduct of me choosing a healthier, more aligned life. That's the way.
That's a way better to put it.
Like, I'm so proud that I've gotten myself to that mentality that I really believe that, like I see it more as more holistically, more all encompassing. More just like, oh, when I choose to do things that are better, like even like go to the gym or just other things, like that's a byproduct of me living, it could be a byproduct of me choosing to live like a healthier, more happy, aligned life. It's not the goal. It's a byproduct of it. And I do really think that after I did that healing and brought back that, and it's just about being intentional with that aspect. It's like showing that and really treating it as like a real person. It's like that's what this quantum healing is, and going along with that idea that I was saying, how your mind can't really tell the difference. So when you heal something, like when you bring love and go back to that situation, like I put my current self literally in a room with that old self, exactly where I was, crying in the bathroom, like on the floor, like at my lowest point. Like I literally put myself there, and I rewrote the story, and I brought love to that situation, and as a byproduct, it has a ripple effect into the now. And I think that, just kind of being intentional with those other fragmented versions of you is what helps bring it to completeness.
The two big things I'm getting from this is love and awareness. So like even when you're talking about, maybe the byproduct is like losing weight or something, if that's in my highest and best for my body to like maintain its optimal healthiness. But even for me around like working out, like I think we can all relate to, I'm solely working out to lose weight. I'm solely working out to have a six pack. I'm solely working out to look good in a bikini.
Yes.
And even I went through a period of giving myself love in that area of too, because when it had that connotation on it, it was very much like I have to do this. And it made the task of working out so like grueling and terrible, instead of like putting love in it and say I'm working out because I love my body and my body deserves movement right now. My body deserves this. And that is why I'm doing it, and just like changing that mindset. And then the other thing is the awareness. So if something is continuously subconscious, it keeps showing up in your reality. So in your case, both of our cases, I guess, in different ways, an eating disorder. If it's subconscious, we feel like we're not worthy, we need to be perceived this way. It's going to keep showing up as we're not giving ourselves love in this space. Once you take the time to go there and the awareness pops up, that's when you have a choice to reprogram the thought. So where was I going with this? Okay, so then and when it's aware, that's usually when the release is. So it's usually subconscious, and it's buried until we have the awareness and it actually comes through, and then our body's able to find that. And then that's usually where we start like crying. And I've found that this a lot too. And this actually happened even with my money healing, because I pushed down, someone like me doesn't have money trauma. Someone like me doesn't have money trauma. How could someone like me have money trauma? Mm-hmm. Because like, and I mean, there's a lot to this. Like I didn't grow up in poverty or anything, or poor. I was very fortunate that my parents were pretty well off. And in a lot of respects, I was very well taken care of. But there's other things about that relationship that caused money trauma. So that was part of like the limiting belief. But then once I actually sat with it, instead of like, obviously something's not working. Obviously there's something energetically that's being reflected and vibrated. So I need to go into this. So when I allowed myself to go there and the awareness came through, the first time I went into my money trauma, I just like burst into tears, because it's like, wow. As soon as you pinpoint that fractal or you pinpoint that thing, your body wants to do instant release. And that's why we instantly cry and let it go. And that is usually the tipping point to actually like releasing something.
Wow. Yeah, that's very true. That's like a really good point, that it's like, that's kind of how you know, like when, if as soon as you kind of locate it, it just like, the tears just immediately start flowing. That's how you know that you've really hit a point. Like,
yeah. And I've never cried like that about that since then. Since then it's been a slow progression, or a progression into healing that and becoming more aware to it. But there's so many layers to each thing. Like I feel like each fractal also has almost different fractals. Like it kind of like keeps
it does
fractaling. But that was the tipping point of just the awareness. And then your body's almost like, okay, she's gone there, she's aware of it, it's conscious now, we need to release. And I've had a lot of moments like that where I've gone to the healing and I go back to that time, either as an inner child or back to that moment that had been buried as subconscious, and then that awareness like bursts into tears. And then that's usually the first like opening of releasing that like trapped emotion. And then usually I don't have that intense of reaction anymore, that intense like body reaction. But at first it's just like your body just needs to release it. And that's what it does. It's also really interesting because my computer right now is stacked on a bunch of books. And I just picked up this book from the library called The Emotion Code. And it says how to release your trapped emotions for abundant health, love, and happiness.
Ooh. Yeah.
And I've just been looking at that.
Right.
So I'm
yeah.
gonna...
So much of this has to do with trapped emotions and just, things trapped. And, you could think of it as them being in the physical body, in the emotional body as well. Was there any other, like, did you have any other examples of like quantum healing stuff besides, or did you want to go in deeper into anything?
Yeah, well, just kind of a download I had the other day that came through a little bit more on the quantum healing. Let me feel into it. Hopefully it all comes out the way that it's meant to. So, and I've already kind of talked on this a little bit. So we've talked about how we get emotions that are trapped or stuck in the body or in the quantum field somewhere, and they manifest as a block or are reflected in our like current reality since it's stuck. It's literally energy that's stuck. So it's reflecting what's stuck. It's reflecting exactly where it's at. So with that, at the time of the trauma or the event, our bodies usually went into some type of fight or flight mode to cope. And this is also part of the programming. So at that time, our bodies would, it's like, in our brain, it's like a computer system and our nervous system and subconscious, where it's like, I'm a child, I fall off the swing, for example. My body, my programming is going to go swing bad, swing negative, right? Just as an example. So that happens with a bunch of other things and more complex emotions. Something happened with my friend. I can't trust my friend. I can't trust anybody. Now in my subconscious, I have a belief that I can't trust anyone. It's a thought. So our subconscious and our nervous system is completely programmed by thoughts. And this is like what kind of gets interesting too, and like talking about us living in a simulation and being able to program everything, because you can program everything. You can completely program your reality. So it first of all starts with the thought. A lot of our thoughts are subconscious, and depending on what, like, it's all different levels of where we've started at. Like a different percentage of the thoughts are negative and a different percentage of the thoughts are positive based on our life experience. So if you're someone who tells yourself all the time, money doesn't grow on trees, I can't trust anyone, like there's so many different things. I don't deserve that. I'm not worthy enough. And it's like, it's almost like a subconscious thing. You don't realize it, but it just keeps you in this pattern and it keeps you in this loop, if that's self-sabotage or whatever it is. So, but you can reprogram the thought. So the first thing is being aware of the thought, which we talked about, which is like and so you have to ask yourself if there's an area of your life. So you have to choose to stop avoiding that area and ask yourself, am I willing to go there? Am I willing to sit with this and see what comes up? Which is exactly what you did.
It's like a big first step too. Like,
and you have to be willing, because guess what? Maybe you're not, and that's okay. Right. That's okay if you're not. But asking yourself if you're willing to go there. And I mean, a lot of the times, if you're seeking that change and you're trying to figure it out, you usually are. But ask yourself if you're willing to go there with that specific piece of your life. And then just like your awareness will show you, we're very smart. It will show you the thing, and usually there'll be like that pop of release if it's like the crying, or sometimes even people shake. Like there's some type of release that comes through the body of just being aware of it. So here's the thing. So our brain is like the computer that digests the thoughts. And as the thoughts come in, we choose where they go in our body and what reaction happens based off of the negative or positive connotation that are attached to them by our programming. So when it comes to reprogramming, we first have to be aware. So allowing yourself to go into that place and be aware. So now you're aware. Oh, I actually do have a thought pattern that says that I'm not worthy. So when the thought of worthiness comes through, I have a negative connotation on it that I'm not worthy. So now let's work on reprogramming that to positive, and then you will see the reflection of that in your reality. So there's a couple things that we can do when we want to reprogram to positive, and usually it is around releasing the stuck and stagnant emotion so that you can make way for the new positive thought and the new neural pathway programmed into your nervous system. So again, it's about release, and this is about choosing what resonates with you when it comes to release. Lately, so there's release, and repetition is a big one too. I feel like release needs to happen first to kind of like make up space, and a few different ways that you can release. Like one, EFT tapping is a big one. If anyone's ever heard of that before, I've set up my altar. I kind of talked about that earlier in the episode, and which I've really liked because I connect to my altar, and I've been making space to like pray and like have a connection with God source too. But then I've been doing affirmations every single day at my altar as I tap. So I'm reprogramming with repetition as I tap and release what needs to be released. And I've only recently started doing this, and I was doing this when all of this like money stuff came up for me too. So I'm going to keep going with it, but you can definitely like feel the release in your body. Cause that's part of the problem too, is a lot of people have these emotions or they go through these events, and it's almost like your nervous system is on fire after. Like I felt like that in my life, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I had all of this energy in me, and I didn't know what to do with it. And I didn't do anything. I didn't work out. I didn't do, I mean, I didn't even know what tapping or anything was, but I didn't do anything. I didn't even talk about it, for Christ's sake. Like I didn't journal. So there's a lot of different ways to release. And I feel like you just go with what resonates. Journaling like is a good one too, to just like bring it out and put it to paper, but it is also like really good to get into the somatics of it. So the tapping, breath work is really big for moving it in and out of the body. You can use Kundalini. Like there's so many different things, even like yoga and stretching. I really like the tapping, the breath work, the Kundalini, the more like somatics. What else? Oh, so like this emotion code that I'm reading, and this even goes with like Lucia. She does the energy work, the body talk. When she does this, she's releasing trapped stuff in your body, but she goes in and does it like energetically, and there is a release. Like when the girl screamed, or when the horses started running around, like there is some type of release. She just like on a
with that.
Sorry.
It has to be like paired. It's always paired with a release, because if something's happening, energy has to go somewhere.
Yes, exactly. Because it's energy. Yeah. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So when it sits in your body and it can't go anywhere, it's just moving around, creating problems. And those problems manifest as anxiety, overthinking, like maybe even ADHD, you know, guilt, shame. Oh, now my shoulder hurts. Now my knee hurts. Now, like that's what it starts manifesting as, because it's where was I? Oh, I was just saying
physical release
with Lucia too. And like, so she does like body talk with her horses and stuff. Where she is a very advanced quantum healer, where she goes in and scans energetically and uses her hands to move energy in and out of the body. But you can do that too. And I've been doing that. Actually, that's been part of my sitting at the altar. I've been using fire, the elements, to help me come in and release. And I've been using my hands, and I probably look like a crazy person. But I've just been using my hands to actually physically feel the energy and move it through my body, move it through and down into the earth. And the difference that's made, and even that's a release, because it's movement. Release is movement. Release is movement. Yeah. So even just moving your hands and moving them, that is a release.
That's a good point.
And then that makes room to come in for reprogramming it. So you get to choose if the thought is negative or positive. So now you can choose to reprogram it if you want to use repetition like affirmations. Hypnosis is also a really big one. I know there's like I know a guy that does like money manifestation hypnosis, and they're like pretty cool. As well as that's something I'm gonna have to speak on too. I'm gonna do a hypnosis session with this guy. I guess he met you first. That we don't really know that well, but he's reached out to us and really likes the podcast, and I think he's pretty cool. And I'm going to do a session with him, which I'm going to speak on, and then I've also talked about maybe having him on the podcast. But I'm really interested to see what this like quantum hypnosis is going to be like. So I will talk about that too. But yeah, I feel like that's kind of what has come to me.
I feel like you had some good stuff in there about the like moving through and like processing, and also
it is processing.
about
it's letting your body process while you're doing that too,
and about getting to the bottom of being aware of the thoughts and the origination point of the thoughts, and just knowing like, okay, my mind quickly polarizes to this on this thought, but I can control that. But yeah, no, that was just important points to make about like how to actually complete this process, because it's very easy to feel like lost in this process. Like, what am I doing? Like, did I even do anything? Like, I don't know. And I guess, part of, the point of the whole story that I told was a lot of the time, there's obviously two aspects. There's like the moving the energy, but also a lot of the times just giving love to some aspect can instantly fill up your cup, depending on what kind of thing you're trying to heal.
Yeah. Well, I think
that was kind of the point with at least what I had spoken about.
And just, you have the power to choose, like, you have the power to reprogram those things. And I'm finding for myself now it's getting easier and easier, and more things are coming to my awareness, because it's like at first kind of the bigger things you can only handle so much, but now there's like, I'm realizing it as I'm in the shower, as I'm cooking dinner, like I'm realizing a thought that comes through. I'm like, oh, wait, I don't want that thought. I don't resonate with that thought. And actively right there, I decide to switch it to where this is how the thought is going to be. And it's just kind of a snowball effect where it just begins to start happening more and more, and is now expanding and is reflected like more and more in your reality.
And I just think, just like reemphasize too, just the step of really asking yourself, like, am I willing to let myself choose otherwise? Like, am I willing to do that? And because I feel like that's an important stage that people kind of like pass over, or, I had to ask myself that a lot in the last year of my PhD when I was learning how to use my brain again, and I just would resort to the negative thought. I had to just, and you were helping me with this time too, and you had kind of channeled this step too in the process, like, I have a choice in where my brain goes, but really just stopping at that point and saying, like, am I willing to choose not shame right now? Am I willing to choose to not feel shame right now? Kind of just like sitting with that. I just think I just feel called to say that. I feel like it's an important step in the process that I feel like people kind of just bypass. Like, okay, no, time to choose the regular thought. But it's like, no, like, are you willing to? Because you have to be willing to not go to your normal feeling of shame or whatever else. You insert negative emotion.
You always have the choice. And there's no good or bad in either choice. It just is. But yeah, just asking yourself, I guess it's basically like, if you're praying for a change, if you want to change in a certain area, are you willing to change?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you want to add into this discussion? I feel like I kind of said most of what was on my mind, or what I wanted to bring in to this discussion.
Yeah. Well, I guess like also things in your life come up for you to be looked at. And I feel like I worked through that with kind of the money car situation. Because you can go, oh, why me? Why does this always happen to me? Poor me. And get stuck in that negative neural pathway instead of asking the universe, why is this happening for me? Why is this happening for me? And then when I got to feel into that, I felt into that more, into why me spending money was actually supporting me in the grand scheme of things. Not to mention that I actually got my vehicle fixed, so I'm not actually gonna like go off into the lake because something breaks off and I can't brake or something.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's just usually there's a reflection showing it to you, and I'm not gonna get super deep into it, but I'm going through some kind of like heavy family stuff right now. We're fine. My family's fine, but it's just like some complicated stuff that I probably will speak on the podcast about it sometime because it's quite the story. However, now is not the right time. But it's interesting because a lot of it revolves around some dad stuff. Trying to not be too cryptic, but like I need to say that part. It revolves around some dad stuff and some healing, and love my dad very much, just some personal stuff for me. But it's interesting because in my field, there has been this imbalance of masculine and feminine energy, and my mentor kind of brought this up to me, and and it is easy to be like, well, this is really hard and this really sucks for me. And I'm not going to say that I don't feel that, because sometimes I do feel that. But also like, ooh, what is this? I'll just hold it. My microphone just fell over.
The energy was too intense.
It's just like, ooh, like, what is this reflecting in my internal reality? Because it's always a reflection. Like, you're literally always reflecting your internal world outward. So there was like this imbalance of the masculine, which makes sense. I do need to feel into my masculine a little bit more in a lot of senses. And it's like that a little bit more like self-discipline. I don't know, just that like really strong, powerful, like I can get through this. I'm okay. I'm safe. I can be that safe space for myself. And that was really interesting too, feeling into just like that divine
the safety.
Pardon?
The safety.
Yeah.
Aspect of it.
And that just what the divine masculine provides, and then feeling into in my actual human reality what I'm going through, and like seeing how those like reflect each other.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, because there's obviously a lot of specific functions to the divine masculine energy. And so it's like, if that is a theme in your reality right now, then it's probably there's traces of it everywhere a little bit, or in other aspects.
Yeah. I feel complete.
Yeah, I feel complete too. I feel good. Okay. So I think we're gonna wrap up there, but this was a good discussion for sure. I hope that some of this also gave some good practical tips that people could start using in their life, and yeah, let us know how it goes.
Yeah. Well, and also if you're looking for more support on this, this is what I'm doing with like my mentorship and coaching programs, where I'm starting to take on clients for that, is supporting you and guiding you in your own healing, in your own healing of your nervous system, in your own being aware and reprogramming the thoughts. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, it's a ripple effect. You heal yourself, you heal others, but sometimes you need a little bit of that support and guidance. I know I did. My mentor, my mentor changed my life, and now I'm taking what I've learned, and I'm still learning. I don't want anyone to think that I all have it figured out, and anyone who tells you they all have it figured out, run far away. because they don't, like, no one has it all figured out. No one knows the answers. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, it's just nice to have support in this process. So definitely, you know, like I have my own support system set up, like kind of with this spiritual membership group from Jenny at Starseed Academy on Instagram that I'm a part of. I feel supported throughout each unique step of the process. So, you know, that's another option, or even just like, you know, getting a reading or a healing from you to kind of identify some things or confirm some things is another good place to kind of start to like locate things and kind of just take it from there, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I think the message just is you can like program your life. You like can create your own reality, and you have the power to do it. And it's inside of you. It's not external. It's inside of you, and you are powerful. And I feel like I'm living proof of that. And I feel like Alyssa is living proof of that. And I feel like follow us along our journey and our story, because we're just getting started. So if you need proof, watch for the proof. But I think part of us doing this too is we also genuinely want to create a safe space and community for other people that have maybe gone through an awakening or are also going through. Doesn't even have to be an awakening, just similar things where you can resonate to wanting to go into those places of your healing, or wanting to disrupt the pattern, wanting to be a cycle breaker, but you don't know how to get started or where to start, or even like feeling that you're powerful enough or worthy enough. And I don't know. I just want to say that's part of the reason why I'm doing this, is because I do want to support the people that are out there that yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Me as well. But yeah. All right. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And don't forget to please, first off, give us a rating and review wherever you're listening to this, and give us a subscribe on YouTube. Even if you have a YouTube channel, just give us a subscribe over there. Even
it
if
really helps us out. If you resonate with us, it really helps us out. We're just starting as little babies.
Tell someone that you think could relate to this. Tell a friend, tell someone. And so then also our socials. Follow the podcast page on Instagram at the Orphic Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. Definitely make sure you're following that for some updates and clips and information on all the new episodes. And then my Instagram is at interdimensional.astrophysics.
Oh, and my Instagram is Mariposa Moonchild. And yeah, if this episode resonated with you, please take a screenshot of it and share it on your socials and tag us. We'd love to see it.
Oh yeah, that would be so fun. Oh my God, I'm trying to like manifest that. I'm working on like visualizing that, just seeing more and more people kind of watching us and sharing it on Instagram stories. And I know that we're moving towards that, and I know that we're going to have that happen more often. So I'm inviting that experience into our reality. So
and
help us out. Post
and if you've made it this far and are here and listening, we thank you and we love you.
Yes, thank you, Soul Fam. Okay. See you next time.
Happy Friday. Bye.